What's up, everybody? It's like my favorite day of the week. I don't like Wednesdays very much because I'm literally on live calls from now until 6 p.m. But it's fun, and I love doing these live broadcasts. So good to see you guys. Good to see you, Lindsey, Badillo. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. I feel the same about Wednesday. We were just in marketing machine onboarding, and I was like, man, it's a Wednesday. I'm like, it's Wednesday, but it's a Wednesday. So
I kind of purposely, something for you guys that are, living in this virtual, we all kind of live in this virtual world now. I stack my meetings like on one day. So I got a little bit of stuff Monday morning with our weekly onboarding for our new members, but then I move all my meetings to Wednesdays. So I'm like one day, pile them all out. And then I got Tuesday, Thursday, Friday to work on the business. And I think especially when it comes down to distractions and work. And like you just heard, I'm at my house right now in my home office, and I got a guy and there's like, because I got a worker here. You're like, what is that? I'm like, it's the blind guy. And you're like, the blind? No, I'm like, he's working on blinds. He's not blind. It'd be bad having a blind guy working on blinds. That wouldn't work out for him. But anyway, so we got a really cool episode for you guys today. This is week 4 of marketing with Lindsey, and super great marketing team leader, head coach. What are you calling whatever your title is? I don't know.
Person that just shows up and teaches marketing stuff.
Yeah. So last 3 weeks, we talked about lead generation. We talked about cold lead generation. We talked about cold emailing. We talked about cold calling, all this stuff, nurture, like all these things, putting it together. And today we're going to talk about the webinar Endzone, which is now, note, here's what I'll say on this. It doesn't always end with a webinar. A lot of times it's live events, a lot of time. So the concepts is what you should be taking from these, taking notes, paying attention, come back and rewatch them as we go. But the concept here is sales is a numbers game. First of all, marketing is a numbers game, and you should be touching people as much as you can to get them into whatever your event is, whether that's a live event, whether that's a recorded webcast, whether that's a live webcast, whether that's a seminar, an association trade show, or whatever. You have to be doing all of this stuff. And I'll give you a great example. I'm going to stream on the bottom. We have our live event next week that we do. So this is a great example of what we do on a live event. This is kind of our big thing. We do these live broadcasts. We also do every month, we do a couple of different live webinars. So all of the same concepts apply leading up to it. We have our live event Nashville next week. Today is the 10th. So we'll be May 16th, 17th, 18th in Nashville next week. So 1 week from today. In fact, I'm going to be going live again next week with Cindy, and I'm going to be live at the show, Lindsey.
What?
I talked to Cindy about this morning. This is actually kind of fun. So I'm going to do this from the back of the room with a headset on. I'm going to do my broadcast from the back of the room. I'm going to take my whole setup, and we're going to do it from the back of the room while stuff's going on in the room. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know, but we'll see.
So you guys are going to continue with your sales trainings in the group then?
Correct. Yep.
Love it.
Yep. So kind of show must go on thing. So, okay. So I'm going to hand it over for you today. You guys see the stuff going on. We got some great giveaways at the end. I know I got a lot of heat again today for the everyone tag. Guys, this is a free training. I don't understand what the big hubbub is all about. Stop tagging me. This is a group I don't want to get spammed in. Okay, I get it, guys. You don't want to get spammed. Don't be in the group.
Turn your notifications off. Like, who has their Facebook notifications on anyways? Turn them off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in probably 100 groups, 10 of which I focus on. And it's just, I don't understand where it's such a big deal. But anyway, okay. So Lindsey, I'm going to let you bring your screen up. Also, I forgot we have a guest speaker with us today. Do you want me to bring him on now? I'll bring him on now. So we got one of our trusted, amazing clients, Mr. Bob Mitchie. Bob and I've been dating for a while now.
Oh boy.
We're getting pretty serious.
Hey, it's not a lie, is it? So welcome, Bob. Actually, before we go into Lindsey, why don't you give us a little intro of yourself?
Yeah.
Hey, we're an MSP in northern New Jersey. We're helping our clients manage and mitigate cyber risk. So
I love that. You've been in 7-figure MSP as a member for 3 years?
3 years.
3 years. And Bob and I knew each other from MSP land before that too. So I appreciate you trusting me and Lindsey and Cindy and our whole team with your business. And it's been a lot of fun the last 3 years. So it's great to have you here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsey, I'll let you take it from there, and we'll. You got the controls. I'll just shut up and chime in when I needed. I got my trusty Celsius with me today. I got guava strawberry.
Oh my God, don't rub it in, Chris. I'm like 2 months Celsius free. Stop it. I'll drink my water.
Here we go.
All right, welcome in everyone. Hi Zachary, I see your hello over there in the chat. Hello. Okay, so today we are going to be zooming on into the webinar Endzone. So if you have hung out with us over the past few weeks, you know that we've covered cold prospecting as a whole. Now, and we've also learned over the past few weeks that a lot of times cold prospecting actually turns into more warm prospecting if you're doing it right, if you're giving value and nurturing and then calling down on the people and following up with the people who are raising their hand along the way. And we know that, yes, all roads lead to the CSRA, as our clients will tell you. There's still some nurture stops that have to happen in between. So that's where your webinar comes in. Now, the reason why I have Bob here with us today, we're so happy to have you here, Bob, is Bob has been very consistent in this nurture process and has literally just ran with doing webinars, with doing joint webinars with other people within his MSP community, as well as those that are part of his Dream 100. And the Dream 100 is something that we focus on in Marketing Machine that gets you in front of more of your ideal clients. So a lot of times we feel like we have to do all the things by ourselves. We've got to generate the leads all on our own, do all the hunting by ourselves. When in reality, if you can leverage a community or a network, and Bob is literally going to be sharing how he has done this really, really well over the past few months. But if you can leverage a community or a network or another influential person in your space that has access to your ideal clients, and then you go within their ecosystem and you go educate through a webinar, through a masterclass, through a training, through a lunch and learn, through a live event, a summit, and you go and position yourself as the go-to IT and cybersecurity expert, who are they going to go to when they're ready to take that next step to make sure that they're covered for the FTC safeguards, to make sure that they've gotten their CSRA, to make sure that their company is protected, even if they have the IT department, et cetera? They're going to go to the person that has spent the time educating them. They're going to go to the person that's been deemed as the authority figure in that topic. Okay, so I'm really excited for Bob to share on this today with us and actually give us some tactical, like how this really works in the real world, because I think it's super easy for me to teach you concepts and like I can tell you how to go do the things all day long, but it really hits on a different level whenever you have an MSP just like you, who's literally in the trenches, just like you are, doing the things day in, day out, and literally hear from their take on how this all works. So that's what we got. That's what we have in store for you today. All right. So let me, I'm just going to lay some groundwork here, I guess, on what exactly is a webinar, what it is and what it is not. And then I'm going to hear from Bob and Chris also on how it has changed their business, which you guys literally see us doing this internally. Chris runs a webinar. We run a webinar every single month, the first Monday of the month. Chris, it's also been a while since we've done our marketing webinar. But
yeah, we need to get back in on that because it was very well received, and it's just something that I think we just got a little overwhelmed, and we just got to get back into it. So I'm with you on that.
Yep. So at that point, we were running 2 webinars per month. Right now, like the sales one happens no matter what, rain, sun, shine. So we have this ongoing webinar that happens every single month. But this is our way internally of getting in front of the right people, educating them, and then helping them make that empowered and informed decision on whether or not our coaching program is for you. So for you, it'd be the exact same way. You would say, okay, if I can bring in my ideal clients and I'll say, here, let me educate you on why you need the CSRA or why it is that your company needs to be concerned about these FTC safeguards. They come into this webinar. I walk them through the changes. I walk them through the framework for the FTC safeguards. And then I'm educating them so that they can make their own decision on whether or not they need to move forward with this. That gets me out of this hunt, and I got to be in this grind mode all the time. And I've got to convince people, and I have to just keep following up. And I've got to try to get them on the phone with me. And it's taken that out of the mix, and it's letting them be educated. It's letting them know that, okay, they've given me this value. They've educated me up to this point. I know what my next step is. It's to talk to someone and map out if we need to have the CSRA or not, or are we covered for the FTC safeguards, and then lets them make that decision on their own terms. They're all adults. We're all adults here. So they get to make that decision without us having to twist their arm, pull them behind us and trying to get them to say yes to that. Okay. That's a game changer in your marketing. So a couple of things about what a webinar is and is not. A webinar is it's literally you live streaming to a group of people in a room, typically with their cameras off, typically with their mics off. This is positioning you as the expert in your company or in your field, in your industry. Okay, so this is and you can actually see a screenshot over here of where John was sharing, hey, marketing win. We had 10 people on today's webinar. He actually partnered with someone else and they hosted a webinar. So you can literally see our members are doing this. This is what we teach our marketing machine clients. But we're doing this so that they're bringing in these leads into this room. They're learning from them, and then they're pushing them to that first time appointment. Okay. So if we go right here, you can actually see this filters out leads who are not a fit. This filters out the people who were probably never going to buy from you to begin with for whatever reason, all the reasons. Okay. It moves them through your sales pipeline. So I actually don't know if my slide deck has it does not have a picture of it. But if we think here, let me go back. If we think back of our sales process, let me zoom back here. There we go. If we think how all roads lead to the CSRA, I wish you guys could see my pointer. I'm like pointing, doing my mouse. But if we know that all roads lead to the CSRA, when they are nurtured and they go through this cold prospect campaign and they attend my webinar, they then take the step, they make the decision to book that call with me, to book that appointment with me, that first time appointment. Then they move into my discovery call. Then they move on to the CSRA. Okay, so whenever I'm hosting this webinar, I'm not putting a checkout button in the chat telling them to go and book their CSRA. I'm not doing that. I don't even know if I want to work with them yet. I've got to get them on the phone with me. I've got to get them to have that cyber strategy session or that cybersecurity consultation first, go through that pre-qualification phase, and then I'll talk to them about the CSRA. Okay, but I've got to get them there first. So now let me fast forward through there. So let me get your take on it. Bob, in what ways, I just want to surprise, right? You weren't expecting that coming. But while we have a little pause right here, tell me, have you always used webinars in your business?
I actually started with some webinars. I didn't like them and wanted to do live events, but now with COVID, I guess that mindset's totally changed. And yeah, the webinars are great but the webinars are great, but I'm also getting up there and not trying to teach them everything. I want to get it started and get them to realize that there is a lot of work and then move forward. And that's what we did with the latest FTC webinar that we did with the bookkeepers and accountants.
Okay. So you said I tried it. I didn't really like it. I was like, I don't know about that. But now, like Chris said, we're all in this virtual world. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the FTC webinar series that you guys have just wrapped up?
So how we did it or the webinar itself?
Just tell us a little bit about it. Tell us what's working for you guys.
So what's working right now is we have had the most number of new appointments of forever for us because of doing webinars. And some quick stats, we can get into how we got them, but we had 177 people registered for the webinar.
Wow.
Only 76 showed up, but that still gave me
that's great. A 50% show up rate, basically. Yeah.
50% show up rate, and it was targeted as a 1-hour webinar. So we went through and did the webinar deck, and a lot of people might say, "Oh, I don't want to do a webinar. I don't want to do it. I'm scared to do it." I've actually found it's really easy to bring somebody else on, just like we're doing today, to do the webinar. I actually partner up with one of the other 7-figure members, Chris and I will jump on a call and do a webinar. Pretty much actually we did one last Friday for another small group that came along because of doing another webinar. But back to the original webinar, so we had 76 people show up.
Wow.
We did the webinar, got to the Q&A session, and at an hour and 20 minutes, I pulled the plug on the webinar. I was like, guys, we're done. I know you've got a lot of questions. Use the booking link that we supplied, and let's schedule a call and talk more. So it was pretty incredible during the call to hear my email going off. Ding, ding, ding. We booked 22 appointments from that webinar.
Now, a couple of things that I will say to this. I know who this was, Bob, and I think having a very relevant partner, meaning to put it on with, is very important. Somebody that's very respected to their community. Second, making sure that you're addressing something in the webcast that really is valuable to the people that are out there is so key, right? And as opposed to things that MSPs think are important, like backup or like, I don't know, there's all these different titles that we see that are out there. Lindsey and you and I talk about this all the time, and it's stuff that is just fluffy crap, honestly. You have to address titles. So Bob, is there any titles that you can, I know some of this stuff is a little bit confidential, so we got to be careful, but is there anything that you can talk about related to titles and how important that is?
The partner that we worked with actually interrupted their normal promotion schedule because we shared with them the urgency of getting this message out to their audience. The June 9th deadline for the FTC compliance, he's like, my people needed to hear this, and they need to hear it now. Yeah. And they actually promoted us to 22,000 people on their list.
Wow.
We actually did 2 separate webinars with this person, and the first one they actually brought us into their mastermind call and gave us the whole call just for to get this to their normal members, and then they was like, okay, we're going to promote this to our entire prospecting list. And I know for a fact we closed people that were not part of their mastermind for
So relevant partner, really relevant title to them is really not to you, to them is really important.
You know, we weren't pushing back. We wanted to give the cyber message, like, you need to really look at these. Look at what the IRS isn't telling you was part of the messaging.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I like what you said, Bob. You said I was teaching them, but I wasn't like teaching them everything. So I think that's really important whenever we go into these webinars, you go into these educational events. I'm not going to teach you so much that I lose you in the process. I'm going to give you just enough so that you understand this high level framework, that you understand the roadmap, you understand the path that we're going down. But I don't need you to be an expert. You don't have to be an expert on FTC safeguards. That's what I'm for. But I can give you enough so that you're educated and you can make an informed decision going forward.
And that goes back to everything that Russell's been teaching over the years and the other coaches. It's like, let's simplify what we're actually presenting, set it down to 4 basic things so people can remember it and move on. You know, giving them a complete checklist of 12 different things that you need to do today to protect yourself. No one's going to remember any of it.
Remember all that. Yeah, it's too much. Yep. I like to follow, like personally, like when I'm teaching, I like to do the rule of 3. So 3 like pillars or 3 steps or 3 points that they need to remember. Sometimes it'll go up to 4. Like if I just can't fit it into 3, like whenever we put together the FTC Safeguards webinar campaign, it's a 4-part framework. So we took the 9 points that are in the FTC's, like that's literally on their website, and we condensed that into 4 different points. So I think this is a big thing that we've had to rewire in a lot of our MSPs, because they want to go in and they want to teach them everything. And they want to say, here's the 9 different things. And like you said, nobody's going to remember that. So
I also really like the multi-part framework scenarios. So you can have somebody continue to come back. Once you get them to come back to your webinar, you're in the first piece, they come back to the webinar. They pretty much are guaranteed that they're going to buy from you at some point. It might not be right now, but they're going to buy from you at some point.
Yeah.
So, Chris, we had that first webinar with their mastermind group, and then everything was promoted back out 3 weeks later to their prospecting list and their mastermind. So we had people that saw us twice.
Yeah.
And so we closed 2 FTAs from those 22 appointments, paid.
Mm-hmm.
Paid CRSRAs. It was 22 FTAs, 2 paid CSRAs.
Yep.
And then because a lot of these were people that needed some additional coaching and help, we actually created a small coaching program around it and booked 8 new people last week.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for you guys that are watching that don't know what Bob's talking about, FTA means first time appointment. CSRA means cybersecurity risk assessment. So we're doing what we teach inside of 7-Figure MSP is a paid cybersecurity risk assessment. So that's what Bob's talking about. First time appointment, discovery call, then leads into why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment. They sell the risk assessment. That leads into potentially, more than likely, a closed managed services deal.
Yep. And those numbers, thank you for sharing those numbers, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing those like raw numbers. That actually goes right in line with what with our averages of like, if I want to close 1 deal per month, I need 10 first-time appointments. If I want to have 2 deals per month, I need 20 first-time appointments. So you said I had 22 FTAs. I had 2 that went forward with the paid CSRA. So those numbers are right in line. Now, I think that number can go up and down, like depending on how good your nurture is. So had you not had done the webinar, had they not have been so educated and been so engaged with it and realizing that, oh, we do need this. This is something that we need to explore. They go book the call with you. If all that wouldn't have happened, 1, you probably wouldn't have gotten the appointments, not at that volume at least. And then 2, the process to sign that CSRA would probably have been longer. There'd probably have to be some more touch points in there. Yeah. Okay, cool. So thank you for sharing on that, Bob. All right. So I'm curious. Let me gauge the chat wherever you're hanging out with us from. Have you ever hosted a webinar? Why or why not? Or a live event? Maybe it wasn't like a webinar, but have you ever done like an in-person lunch and learn or an in-person training or even like presenting at your Chamber of Commerce? We have lots of members that are regularly presenting at their chamber. So let me know. Okay, we got a question over here. Jason says, how much did Bob spend for getting the word out for those webinars? Or did he already have a set list to send the sign-up link? That's a great question. Why don't you share on that, Bob?
I'm going to stop your share real quick, Lindsay, just so we can see Bob. Okay.
Yep. There we go.
I didn't spend a dime for this one. This was a process that we've been looking at with Lindsay's Dream 100 process, where you talk to other people that have a list and leverage their authority to get stuff out. Yep. We were promoted to those 2,200 people that I didn't even know, 22,000 people that I didn't even know, and I went to this person that had a membership, but I actually saw him speak several times at other events, and I reached out to him and I said, I've got a message for your members, and we spoke, and they thought they liked the message so much that they were like, we need to do this.
Yeah. So let's go back to what I said earlier. The relevance of your partner. Yep. And the relevance of your title is what gets people excited about. And it's really important to focus on that. So great job, Bob. That's huge, buddy.
Yep, that is. And I like what you said. You said, I've seen this person speak and I just talked to him and I said, hey, here's what's going on. I think your people could benefit from this. Like that takes courage for one, but also I think if you just do it, it's really not as scary as it sounds. So
they're just people.
Yeah, they're just people just like you. And they have bootstrapped their way also to get where they are in business. So they're going to respect that from you.
Well, the normal message that I use when I'm talking to other potential joint venture partners is, if I can get your existing prospects and clients and prospects in a room, is there anything else you can sell them?
There you go.
Make it about them.
Yep. What benefit does it have for them? Yeah. Let's see. Christopher Luck said, I did a live event / pizza party at our office one evening. There you go. So inviting people into your office. Let's see. We do talks at local chambers all the time. There you go. Yep, Jason, it is awesome. I know. Thank you for asking that question. That was a great question. Okay. So let me put my slides back up here. Okay. So let's, I'm not going to play that video because it's not going to play on here, but let's just check in. Those of you that maybe you have tried doing a webinar before, but you were like, I don't really like this. Or maybe you're like, well, that sounds great, but I'm not that type of person. Or I'm just not extroverted enough. Or I don't have a list. I don't have anyone that would show up. Or I'm scared of public speaking. I'm scared of going live on camera. One, identify that, like just identify those beliefs that are kind of keeping you in that place. There's only one, like doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it's only going to guarantee you one thing, that you're going to continue to get the same thing over and over. Okay. So we literally just heard from Bob. He said, I tried webinars a long time ago. I didn't really like them. But then with COVID, things change. I just said, what the heck? We've got to make a change. Okay. So I want you to ask yourself, what is stopping you from putting yourself out there and putting yourself in this authority position and this expertise? And hey, I do have this knowledge that can help people. What's stopping you from putting that out there in this format to where you either host a webinar or a live event, or you contact someone that has access to groups of your ideal clients and you say, hey, I've got something that could benefit your group. What do you think if we come in and we educate on this? And this could help you all. What stops you from doing that? Okay. So ask yourself that first. And then I want you to choose one of these. We actually did this at our full day of marketing machine workshop back at our Q1 live event. It was incredible. I think as a coach, like this is where I get like really excited because I can literally see the shifts that are taking place. So I want you here in this live room, take from this list, like what do you need to tell yourself to then go out and put yourself in this authority position? Do you need to tell yourself, I am the expert? You know what? I am, period. I am. That's it. Because I say I am. I do this work every day. I'm the expert. Do you need to tell yourself, well, if they're not buying from me, if they're not going to come to me, they're probably going to go to someone else. So it may as well be me. Okay. Do you need to tell yourself to trust the process? Maybe you are doing the things and you're just not seeing the results right now. And you need to remind yourself to trust the process, that good things take time, right? Like I see some of your names in the chat and you've been here week after week after week after week. You're doing the right things. Like if you're here soaking up the information, you're learning, and then you're going and applying it. Like we had people last week, was it last week, Chris, whenever someone said, yeah, I went out and I made my calls. Like I went out and I made these calls and I got this appointment booked. Like we literally have people that are doing the things with us. So trust the process.
And I really like, one of the things that I really like to do is I'm a huge believer in leading by example. And we tell our members, come in and watch our webinars, watch what we're doing, watch how we're doing it, see that we're actively out there doing it, and emulate what we're doing. Just get out there and go. Yep. Because, and I love number 4 personally on your list there. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Yeah. Because like there's nobody that does shit worse than me, honestly. But you know what it does every time? It gets done.
Gets done.
My dogs are in my barking here.
Bella's like, yeah, say that again.
Yeah, she's mad. She just scared the other dog. She just scared Jack off, by the way.
Oh,
and Lindsey knows my dog, so this is funny.
Yeah, she's the boss. She's the boss of the house.
She is.
Okay, and the very last one there, this is like my favorite one. All great speakers were bad speakers at first. So this is really big in our community. A lot of you are going to speak in front of groups for the first time ever. And it's intimidating. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's intimidating. Whenever I came into the marketing world and online and virtual stuff, I was coming out of being a teacher, and I would literally record myself on a video for no one to see. I would just literally go talk on video and then upload it as an unlisted YouTube video. So I was the only person that could see it. It was so terrible. It was so terrible, but I had to do that. Otherwise, I would never have gone live. I would have never coached clients virtually. I would have never been on video. So I had to just be really, really bad at first. And if you go back and watch those videos, which you would never, because I would never release those links. But if you would go back and watch that, you would see my voice is shaking. I'm looking all over the place. I'm like, you can just tell being so uncomfortable, so timid, like just so out of my comfort zone 100%. So every single person has to start from somewhere. Okay. So if you're gaining the courage or just, like, oh, I just don't think that's for me. I'm just not an extrovert. Like, You don't have to be an extrovert at all. Like, you don't have to be a people person. You just have to be convicted that you have something to say. Okay. All right. So a couple of key decisions. Dun, da, da, da. And I've got a handout for everyone at the end of this. So you're literally going to have a piece of strategy that you can take with you to help you with this. But a couple of key decisions that you will need to lock in to go and perform your next or first webinar. Number one, what is the date of your webinar? Okay, this is the easy one. I recommend every single one of you that are watching right now, pick up your phone or go to your computer, whatever you're watching this on, find your calendar, and go and lock in your webinar date. Pick a webinar date that's, I would do like 4 weeks from now if it's your first one ever. That's what we do in Marketing Machine, 4 weeks from now. And we're going to lock in a date. We're saying, okay, this is my webinar date. This is the day I'm going to go do my webinar. Okay, that gives you time to do promo. That gives you time to do to get people into the seats. That gives you time to get your webinar slide deck prepared. And I just muted you guys just so y'all know because it was kind of loud in the background.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It must have been by Bob. I don't know where it came from.
I'm just letting you know if you guys go to talk to unmute yourself. So you just have to put it on the calendar and then just run with it. And don't reschedule it. Don't get close to the date and say, oh, well, I don't have anyone signed up. I think I'm going to push it out. Don't do that. Do not do that. You push go and you push broadcast and you just run with it. Whether you have one person in the room or 21 people in the room or 210 people in the room, it doesn't matter. You're just going to go. Okay. So I am curious if anyone's going to lock in their webinar date. You just had some homework assigned to you. So go ahead. Let me know in the chat. Are you locking in your webinar date? When is it? If you already have a webinar on the calendar, share your links with us. We would love to support you. So feel free to drop those in the chat.
Here's maybe some topic ideas on that for you guys, just from MSP brain over here. Think about the things that your clients might care about. Your business is going to get hacked. Here's 5 things you can do to prevent it. Or prevent's not a great word, but great job, MSP guy, on that one.
I know,
But
right?
things like that talk about the solution to their problem. So think about not the tool, think about what's the solution that you're trying to do, how to help protect your business from getting hacked, how to avoid hackers from taking money out of your bank account. Things like that are what you want to talk about because it relates down to the end user. So that's where we want to go.
Yep, absolutely agreed. If you can think about what is a problem that this ideal client has, that this person has, what is the problem that they have, and then what's a solution that I can offer that? So for an example, we know that we've got a Federal Trade Commission safeguard coming up. We know that. That's an impending date. We get it. Okay. The problem that most people know is they don't know what in the world they are. They don't know if it applies to them. It's confusing. They just have no idea. So we have literally generated, you can see it behind me over here. This campaign that we created is literally called What Your Business Needs to Know About FTC Safeguards. I'm not teaching you the 9 steps to comply. I'm not teaching that. I'm just saying, here's exactly what you need to know. That's it. Okay. So I'm curious, Bob's actually really good at this. So he'll help coach some of our other MSPs through this sometimes. Bob, whenever you go to title your workshops and your webinars, your live events, how do you come up with catchy titles for those?
Well, one thing I want to do is I want to try and make the title something that resonates with them. I want to try and call them out in the title. It's like 5 things the IRS isn't telling you about FTC safeguards for your business, for your practice.
Yeah. So something that's going to make them say, oh, well, what are they not telling me? What do I need to know? Tell me more. Right.
But I always want to call them out somehow.
Yeah. And let it be niche specific. So what are they not telling you about your CPA firm? Absolutely. Yep. Okay. So somebody asked a question. I can't see your name because of StreamYard. So I'm going to show it up right here. It says preferred platform for doing webinars. So personally, we recommend Zoom webinar inside of Marketing Machine. That's the easiest one to use, I think. It's also the easiest to integrate. It's the most known platform. A lot of business owners are already using Zoom for other things. So it's not like a new app or a new thing that they have to download. to then get access to this training. So anytime that we can drop in like little points of familiarity, that helps. It doesn't slow down the process. But there are also other platforms such as StreamYard. So you can use StreamYard on air webinars. You could use GoToWebinar. I think Teams even has a webinar option.
Teams has webinar options, but we also want to make sure that the vertical that you want to get to is allowed to use the platform that you want to present with. For example, there's some state governments that cannot use Zoom, so they have to use an alternate platform.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, this that we're broadcasting in right now is StreamYard. StreamYard has a webinar feature. It's very reasonably priced. There also is a new version of Zoom called Zoom Sessions that kind of emulates what StreamYard is. I like StreamYard for this kind of stuff. Now, this isn't necessarily a webinar because the trick is, and you kind of got to look at it two different ways. Webinars, I like pre-scheduled. I like to have specific people that we invent and they have to that we invite and they have to register to come. And then we control who can watch it based on who we let in the room. And then there's other features that are related to webinars. Now, in this case, we're doing a live web broadcast. So StreamYard does have a webinar feature that has your registration and all that stuff ahead of time. But this, we're simulcasting to, I think right now, 6 different channels. So we got Facebook page, 3 Facebook groups, LinkedIn, and then 2 YouTube channels. So depending on what you have and your goals, in this case, I want to do a live training that's just out there in my already established communities. Totally different than we're going to invite people to our webinar that we want to control. So for our strategy webinars that we do, either our sales or our marketing webinars, we still do those on Zoom webinar. But here's what overall advice is. Here's what I'm going to say to you. Don't get obsessed with the tool. Just pick something and go. Zoom is easy. Zoom goes, you can still watch it. And I agree with Bob, if you're going to a DOD or some type of state or local government, maybe not, but everybody else pretty much, we still actively use Zoom. We actually mandate registration so we don't get all these random spammy anonymous attendees coming in. I've been doing that for 4 years and we've never had a problem. So that's probably my recommendation as well. I think you can start with a Zoom 50, which their Zoom 50 plan is like $15 a month and it allows up to 50 users. We currently use the Zoom 1000 and I think it's, I don't know, $1,000 a year or something like that. So it just kind of depends on what your goals are.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Jason says that his webinar is 2 weeks from Monday. Yay. That's so exciting. What's your webinar on, Jason? Share with us your title. Dun, dun, dun. Hot seat. All right, guys. So next up, you want to decide. So after you've locked in your date, then you want to decide who is the ideal client for your webinar. So this is what we worked on. I think it was week 1 that we did this back 4 weeks ago. We went through our cash messaging method. We actually released a handout for this. So all of you should have gotten like the worksheet that you could then go and do. You can walk through your messaging, walk through your target audience. Okay. So we want to make sure that we know who our target audience is. I don't want to put out a webinar that's for any and everybody business owner. I want it to be very specific to my target audience. That way I can position my title. I can position my content. I can position the problems that I'm addressing. My language is going to be specific to that industry. Okay. So for an example, we've got the FTC safeguards campaign back here. And I see Jason, you said no title yet, but it's on FTC safeguards. So our FTC safeguards webinar that we run with our clients, we either have what your CPA firm needs to know about FTC safeguards, or we have what your dealership needs to know. So your car dealership, a lot of the dealerships are unaware that this now applies to them. They are technically considered a non-banking financial institution if they're connecting lenders to their leasing department, to their finance department. So they're absolutely they absolutely have to comply with this. So they don't know that. So we have to educate them. Okay.
Now what you could do, Jason, if you haven't picked a vertical, notice how Lindsey's talking about picking specific verticals. That narrows down your list. We talked about lists last couple of weeks. You could say what your small business needs to know about the FTC safeguards. You could also highlight a specific vertical. Just make sure that your content applies and all those things relate.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. One thing I would look at whenever you're thinking about your ideal client is I always recommend thinking about your existing book of clients. So those of you that have sat into our sales strategy sessions with Chris and Cindy, we always say to start with your existing client database. So whoever is a current client with you, do they need to know what's coming up? Maybe they're a current break fix client or a current project client, or maybe you work with them sometimes once or twice a year, but we need to educate them on this. So I would find a commonality amongst those existing clients. So let's say you have lots of, a handful of, we can say CPAs. We'll just stick with that. We'll say we got a handful of CPA clients. Let me put this first webinar that's specific to them. And I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to invite them to this webinar. I'm going to educate them. There's already trust built there. They already know me. They like me, hopefully. Okay. I'm going to educate them and then push them to that same exact sales process to get them to the CSRA. Okay. So I would start with your existing book of clients. If you're like, yeah, I don't really have any of that, I don't really know where to start, or I've already upgraded all of them, etc., then I would look at a couple of different things. What's an opportunity around you? So if you're in, a metro area, maybe an opportunity for you would be credit unions. Or if you're in an industrial region, maybe an opportunity for you would be manufacturers and you want to focus on them. So I would find current opportunities around you. I would also look at who do you enjoy working with? If every single lawyer you've ever worked with or every single attorney's office you've ever worked with has been terrible and you hated every second of it, I probably wouldn't focus on them. Okay. So I would find opportunities that are near you. And I would also find who you actually genuinely enjoy working with. Anything that you guys would add to that?
I would say don't forget about talking to your current clients to see what their clients are, that you might be able to make them look better.
And I think it's also really important to continually educate your existing clients. Do not forget, just because we're doing webinars doesn't mean it's only for new prospects. You have to put things out. And we used to do in my MSP, this was like 2012, 2013, we had a little bit bigger office that I moved into in 2010. We had a specific area just for doing our own live trainings. And we would do cloud trainings. We would do all these things. And we would actually make it into an existing client training. Yeah. And we would do it in person. We did webinars. We did a webinar every week for like 2 years. This is back even like in GoToWebinar days when it was not fun. There was nobody on camera. It was just like totally different animal. But I was sharing my screen and doing PowerPoint. I did a webinar a week. Between me and Brian, my sales guy, we were doing a webinar. We were rotating. We didn't do the guest thing, but we were just rotating. We were just kind of sitting there and broadcasting. We would do a webinar a week for about over 2 years straight. And then once a quarter, we would do a live event at our office, either a big chamber mixer or some type of a lunch and learn where we'd bring stuff in. And every single month we were bringing people in and doing different things. I said once a quarter, but it was a webinar a week and a live event a quarter. That's what it was. And then we would do a big summit. We did healthcare summits. We did nonprofit summits, all that stuff. Guys, you got to understand, I was doing this stuff when they had no reason to come and do it. You have so much opportunity now because we have cybersecurity and these people know that. Yeah. And we have the regulations and FTC and the White House Cybersecurity Initiative. And then we have insurance companies. Partner with your local insurance firms, your auto owners insurance, or your local independent insurance agencies. Partner with them. Educate their staff as to why their people need cyber. There's so much opportunity there. It's mind-blowing how much opportunity there is.
Yep. Yep.
So, Chris, you were doing webinars. We actually took a different approach. And for the past Actually, we just realized we just passed our 1 year mark. Chris and I have been doing just a weekly live thing on multiple platforms using StreamYard. So Cyber Talk with Chris and Bob.
Yeah, and the great thing about this, the thing I really like about StreamYard is it has that little Reels feature built in now, where you can actually it records everything. You can download audio separately. You can record video separately. You can chop it up into Reels inside of the tool. So it really works well for doing things like this. And you know what? You get pretty damn good at it is the other factor. Like Lindsey and I roll in here every week. There's no script. There's no plan. It's what's up? Let's go. And we just two people shooting the shit is what it is.
Yep. Agreed. It becomes habit. And not only does it become habit for you, but it becomes habit for your audiences as well. Whenever you can create this brand behavior and people see you doing the same thing over and over and over, it subconsciously builds trust. So whenever Bob and Chris's, whenever their audience see them going live week after week after week after week, maybe they're not even watching the entire live. Maybe they're not sitting there for the whole entire 15, 20 minutes, whatever, but it's creating this air of consistency around their brand.
Yep.
That's valuable. Think about how many businesses, how many human beings now are hit or miss. You don't know if they're going to show up tomorrow or not. We don't know. People are inconsistent. So whenever you can stand out, it really doesn't take a lot to stand out. You just show up over and over, speak your truth, and stay consistent. You will stand out.
Yeah. And Lindsey, what did I send you this morning? You remember what I just sent you a couple hours ago in terms of
the reels?
Yeah. So look what it gives us. Like
we have content.
Gives us reels. So I got a brand new reels guy that we're just getting ready to work with. And I literally just sent to Lindsey this morning. I'm like, look, here's all the content from last week's show. Here's just like 3 samples that he did for us. And we're just going to take the recording, upload it to a Google Drive. They hammer it out. I found this guy in Fiverr.
Cool.
So it's not hard to get all this content in there. I connect them with our social media manager. Now we have pieces of content for everywhere. You just got to not be shy, and you got to get on camera. You got to be decent about looking into the lens. Like my background's nothing special. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be
like
that.
It's nothing special. It's just my name in neon lights.
Yeah, it's got a remote. It's got a remote too, by the way. Look.
Oh my gosh! It's got a remote.
That thing was $300. That thing was $300. That is LED sign was $300. And I had some dude off of TaskRabbit come hang it up for me, so it's easy.
There you go. Delegation at its finest. All right, guys. So we want to lock in our ideal client. So we've got the date of our webinar. We've got our ideal client. What's our topic of our webinar? We've already talked about this a little bit, but we want to keep it simple, keep it very clean and clear, and we know exactly what it is that people will take from that webinar. We want to keep it problem solution focused. So what's the problem that I'm going to help them solve through them spending their time with me inside of this masterclass or inside of this training? And I want it to be straightforward. They should not have to guess what in the world I'm talking about. Okay. So a couple of examples over here. 4 ways to protect your CPA firm from hackers in 2023. I know exactly who this is for, CPA firms, and I know exactly what it is that they're going to walk away with. 4 ways to protect their business in 2023. Okay. What your dealership needs to know about the FTC safeguards, why your business needs a CSRA. Okay. Now that business piece right there is not niche specific, but this is our most commonly used webinar topic for networking events, for Chamber of Commerce, for BNIs, whenever our members are doing presentations, like in the community, and you have multiple types of clients or multiple types of business owners in the group, that's our most commonly used one. Why does your business need a CSRA? So we're educating them on why it is they need the CSRA. And then of course, our call to action, the thing that we want them to do at the end of the webinar is to book their call with us, is to, hey, let's get on a consultation and let's talk about your next steps. Period. Simple, easy, straightforward. Okay. All right. And then last, I believe this is last. Nope, almost last. What will your ideal clients learn or walk away with? So for an example, if I was going to be doing the FTC safeguards webinar, my ideal clients would be walking away knowing how it is that this rule applies to their business and what it is that they need to do in order to hit the requirements. Okay. So they're going to realize, one, I know that I cannot give too much away. That's just not a thing. So like whenever we come in here, like literally we're here teaching you right now content that we would specifically or typically teach our clients. Like this is what I'm teaching our clients, marketing machine. But what makes it different? Why I'm not afraid of giving away too much. I'm not afraid of, we're going to give away all the sauce, all the magic, yada, yada, yada. I know that 95% of people will need coaching. They're going to need support. They're going to want a sounding board. They want a team to collaborate with. They want me to review their content. That's why I'm not afraid of giving away too much. So for you, don't be afraid of teaching them too much. They can't go do this stuff by themselves anyways. If they can, good for them. That's great. You've done a great job. But if you think about what the FTC safeguard says, it literally says that they need a qualified professional. They need a qualified IT and cybersecurity professional. So don't be afraid of giving away too much. Bob, what are your thoughts on giving away too much and value? And do you ever have the fear that you're going to give too much away?
No, I'm not afraid of giving too much away. You know, if we go too deep into the weeds, we start losing people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where I would go with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And something I would say on there too is I focus on giving some of our best stuff away for free, keeping it simple. We give a really, really valuable guides, but then you just look at these webcasts. If we give something actionable steps that they can take to execute, for example, FTC safeguards, a self-check assessment. Pretty easy for somebody to take a deliverable off of a webinar that you do, self-check. Then either you have them book their own review call, FTA, first time appointment, or you call down on them then, hey, did you get the deliverable from the webinar? Oh, no, here, I'll send it to you. Oh, did you get the deliverable from the webinar? Great. Why don't we book your assessment review? It gives you a reason to call down on them then. Every attendee, every register, and you can call with two different reasons. Great example. We had our webinar on this Monday and I think we had 385 people registered for that webinar. This past Monday. We had about over a third live. We called down all the people that were live first.
Yep, warm leads.
Book a call with our team. Second, we went to everyone else that registered but didn't attend, asked them if they want to watch the replay. On top of that, we then call down with another follow-up and say, hey, did you watch the replay? Okay, now that you watched the replay, do you want to book some time with our team to talk about doubling your MRR in the next 12 months or less? See how it's got a very specific cadence and it's all purposeful.
Yep.
Really critical.
Yep, so good. Jason said in the chat, if the free stuff is really good, imagine what else you have behind the paywall. Yes. Oh my God, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Jason, that sounds like a marketer to me. I think you're maturing, my friend. Jason, actually, what's funny, Jason booked a call with me coming off of our webinar too, didn't you, Jason? And we talked this last week. Yeah, we did.
Put you in the hot seat there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, guys. So we want to make sure that we're just really clear on what it is that our audience will take away from this webinar. We don't want it to be a waste of their time or a waste of your time. So make sure they take away something tangible from those trainings. Okay. Last but not least, we've talked about this a little bit already, but we want to make sure that we have a very clear call to action at the end of the webinar. So, and I actually like to pre-frame this in the beginning of the webinar. Like I like to set the stage for this in the beginning by saying, hey, by the end of today's webinar, you guys are going to know exactly what it is that you need to do in order to make sure that you're compliant with the new FTC safeguards. I'll also be opening up an opportunity for you to potentially partner with our team and see if we can help you with that. Okay. So I like to pre-frame that in the beginning, that I'm letting them know I will be asking you to book a call. I will be opening up an opportunity for us to help you. That way it's never, it doesn't feel weird. It's not a surprise. They're not like, what? This was a pitch or anything like that. Like it's very clear. It's like a business meeting. Like you're coming here, business owner to business owner. I'm going to educate you. Here's what we're going to do at the end of it. Okay. So you want to be very clear with your call to action. It's to book that next call with you. Again, we're not selling our CSRA on that call. I don't even know if I want to work with them. I've got to make sure that we can even help them. So let me get them to that first time appointment first. Okay. So you'll see a couple of example call to actions over here. Number one, book your cyber strategy session with our team. Number two, ensure your company is compliant and book your FTC safeguard audit session. That's kind of a lot of words. Or three, book your cybersecurity risk assessment strategy call. So I'm not calling it a coffee chat. I'm not calling it a networking meeting. It's not a get to know you call. We don't got time for that. This is a business meeting, and you're booking the call to specifically talk about cybersecurity, to specifically talk about FTC compliance, to specifically talk about CSRA. That's what we're doing.
Now, battle that I will tell you, many MSPs have with this, and I'm speaking to all you guys that own MSPs that are the tech minded. You're going to think about doing this for about 5 minutes, and you're going to be like, I don't want to do that. 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 You got to start somewhere. And I will personally tell you, like, I don't like doing any of that crap. So, but here's the challenge. You either in the beginning do nothing or pay somebody to do it for you. It's literally this. And then as you go, you mature, it's easier to pay somebody. I understand, but you got to make a decision in the early stages. Do I want to have more business? Yes or no? Do I want to grow my business? Yes or no? You also have to be okay with letting control get away, because this is the other factor. It's, I don't want to do this stuff, and it's, I can't let go of control. It's almost like a two-headed monster that kills you guys, because you're obsessed with controlling the entire thing, but then at the same time, and so you don't delegate it. And then at the same time, you don't want to do any of this stuff because it's not in your personality profile, myself included. I was a very, hard to believe this, Lindsey, by the way, I was a very introverted guy 20 years ago.
Wow.
I've learned and evolved and grown to be a real annoying, outgoing guy.
Emphasis.
Thanks for laughing at that. I appreciate that. Well, when Bob and I met, you know where I was standing? In front of a trade show booth. That's where I met Bob.
Wow.
Outwards at that point. But if we go back to computer guy, Chris, now granted, I had a little bit of a personality and I was good at, you know, I did like drama and on stage stuff when I was in high school. So it was a little, yeah. I mean, I'm always been like, I did prose and that kind of stuff. Like,
you're a thespian? I had no idea.
I did forensics. I was a radio DJ. Like, I did all kinds, but it was all behind the scenes.
Cool.
None of it was really like selling. Selling is a different animal. It really is. So you got to be outwards focused on this, and you got to have a plan. So my point to you guys coming out of this, follow some basic structure, get yourself started and hold yourself accountable, or build the strategy and then delegate the pieces of the strategy. But you still got to have a process. And what MSPs constantly want to do, they want to pick this thing up and dump it on some type of an outsourced contractor and magically have it work. The only way that works is a large pile of cash.
Yeah. And you have someone to orchestrate that. So like we'll literally see this in our higher level clients, the ones that have the cash. They'll have like 3, 4, 5 different agencies, and everyone's on an island doing their own thing, and none of it's cohesive. So then they're shelling out $10,000 a month for all these agencies that are supposedly generating leads, but there's really no results coming from it. So that's what happens whenever we don't have a handle on the full high level strategy. So for an example, I got to make sure the social media company is synced up with my marketing coordinator over here, and they're driving leads to our webinar. And then I've got to have our SDR synced up with this team to make sure that they're following up with the webinar registrants. So if you're going to have all these different teams, we got to make sure that they're focused on the goal. What are they working on? What's the end goal for them? All right, Bob, did you want to add something? I thought you were going to add something back there.
I was going to add something back around. Just, you know, when it times to drop, book your cyber strategy session with our team, and when I pop that link and the QR code up on the screen, make sure you've got both, obviously. But it was a great feeling because people just started going. Went on that webinar that I did.
And the thing that you probably realized is when you have the systems built, Bob, you and I have been talking about systems of lead gen and conversions for like 3 years, because Bob and I have been working on ClickFunnels together for a long time, and all this other stuff. Once you realize that and it clicks and you have all the back end stuff working, you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like, it's like,
I got 2 form fills during this call.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great. Love it. Love it.
Two people went to my quiz.
That's what it's all about.
That's good. All right, gang. So make sure you practice. So I like to practice myself at least one time going through my full webinar. I like to record the webinar, go through my full slide deck, review it, listen back to myself, watch myself. Where am I looking? How often am I saying ums and buts and things like that? You know, and really paying attention to your pacing. I can almost guarantee you that 95% of you will talk too fast in your webinar.
Yeah.
You will speed through it. If you get through with your webinar.
Even worse if you're reading, for the record. Even worse if you're reading.
Yep.
So Lindsey and I work almost exclusively off of either bullet points or just the slides. So like, and we're very word light on our slides by design. Bob even noticed my slides when I'm keynoting from stage. It's one line usually, and everything is from here. And I force myself to slow. And it's hard because you do go fast, and it's easy to just go because you get it here, and it's tough.
Well, the first time I did the FTC webinar, we did it in like 21 minutes. I'm like, oh, this was a mistake.
No, way too fast.
Yeah.
But even your cadence now is great. Like just it's conversational cadence, and it just takes practice is all it takes.
We're changing the stories and getting comfortable with the content. So
yeah.
Yep. And you learn how to riff off of each other as well. Like whenever you have someone in there with you, you learn how to kind of bounce ideas, bounce things off each other, and bring in more of that conversational piece. So slow down, practice, speak clearly, project your voice. I'm actually helping my daughter practice for a speech. She's in kindergarten. She'll be graduating kindergarten next week. And she has a speech in kindergarten. She'll be speaking for a kindergarten graduation. And she was so fast. She was, we the class of kindergarten class of 2023 are innovators. And she's just speeding through it. And she's talking real low, but it's really fast. And she's got the words in her head. And so the way I taught her, or the way I'm trying to teach her, she basically tunes out whatever I tell her, but that's a different story. So I say, if you could picture your words having color, if your voice had a color, try to get that color to touch all the corners of the room. And so that's getting her to visualize her voice being projected and being clear, and her slowing down and sounding confident in the words that are coming out of her mouth. That makes a big difference with the way that people perceive your message. Okay, so someone asked in the chat, they said, I want to do one every week. Yes, there we go. Do it every week. We actually recommend in Marketing Machine, you start out with once a month. So start out with your webinar once a month, and then run that for 2 to 3 months, and then gear it up. Then you do 2 a month. Then you gear it up and you have 3 a month, and kind of amp up to that every single week cadence. The big thing here is to make sure if you're running one every single week, that you're following up on the leads that are registering for it. Think about how much work we do to get those leads in the door. We're on social media. We're doing our lives. We're calling them. We're emailing them. We're doing a lot of work to get them there to begin with. So if you're doing one every single week, that's great. But make sure that you're not letting the ones that are attending slip through the cracks because you're so focused on the next venture. So make sure that we're still following up on them and working those leads. Okay. And then someone said, where can I find the schedule for the event in Nashville next week?
So if you're a member of our program, it's actively posted in our Inner Circle clients group. I can't see who that is, so I can't really tell you. But if you are a guest that's coming, check your email and you will have all the stuff ahead of time. Your pre-day starts Tuesday, I believe, at 11 a.m. And then full day, there's our cocktail reception Tuesday evening. I believe that's at 6. But then we have the cocktail receptions for everybody. Then we have full day starting breakfast at 8 on Wednesday. Full day starts at 9 Central Time. So just so you guys know, but please check your email. And
if you're registered, you should have an agenda that's been pushed out to you.
Correct.
Which if they haven't signed up, well, what are you waiting on? The link's right here.
Yeah. Hotel is sold out. We actually sold out. This is first time I've ever done this. We own that hotel. We sold out the entire hotel. Every room in that hotel is 7-figure MSP, which is really, really exciting. It's really cool. Yeah. Downtown Nashville at the Margaritaville Hotel, but live.7figuremsp.com. Use your code VIP access. You can still come. You just can't stay in the hotel. Note.
You can room with Chris in his suite.
That's what Bob's staying with me. Sorry, Bob. You just found that out.
Yeah. By the way,
we do have our Trailblazers living the Sweet Life event in my suite on Tuesday night, though, which is
that'll be fun. You're 30 minutes away. Cool. Well, you should come.
Do me this. Send me a DM. I'll send you the agenda.
Yeah.
Send me a DM on Facebook, either account. There's 2 of them. The one with me holding the sign is my personal. The other one's the social team account. That's with my wife. But I don't care either one. I'll get it.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, gang. Well, that is a wrap on today. Great job. We've crafted your elevated and expert status using our cash messaging method. We practiced cold call talk tracks in week 2. We literally scripted out cold emails last week. And then this week we have gotten our webinar key decisions locked down. And you're ready to go out and and positions yourself as the go-to IT and cybersecurity expert. A couple of things, keep going at it. It's going to take lots and lots and lots of practice. Nothing worth having is going to come overnight. It's not going to happen right now. It's going to be after months and months and months of doing these things over and over. Now, what we've taught you, though, over the last few weeks can get you quick wins. So I bet if you go pick up the phone right now and you call people and you make some calls, you could get some quick wins, but it's going to take lots of practice to really see that traction building up. So thank you for hanging out.
And it takes time. Lindsey, I know you had a deliverable for today. Can I share that deliverable?
Yep. Go right ahead.
So here we go, guys. This is Lindsey's deliverable for today. 7figuremsp.link/webinar-endzone. Please make sure that it's case sensitive, all lowercase. Bitly, it's on Bitly, and it's kind of a pain with cap sensitive, but everything should be lowercase. 7figuremsp.link/webinar-endzone. That's got all. Lindsey, what's all in that? I don't know off the top of my head.
That is the key decisions for your webinar. So if you want to go through and lock in your key decisions for your next webinar, and you want to be able to go through a worksheet and kind of work your way through it, you could even go back and watch the replay of this as we talk through these things, and then fill out your key decisions in the meantime. Lock it into your calendar. You'll come up with your title. You'll come up with your ideal client for this, and literally have that structure for you to then go out and do your next webinar.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome job, Lindsey. Thanks so much. Bob Mitchie, thank you for guesting with us today. Very appreciative of having you here. Love having successful members of our program share what's working for them. So thanks so much for coming. Any parting words, Bob? On you.
No, it's thanks. Just get out there, reach out to some partners and use their lists and get people in your events.
Yeah, I love it. Great advice. Lindsey, thanks so much. We got 4 straight weeks with Lindsey that we just did. We covered cold calling, cold emailing, cold prospecting, also webinar stuff. We're going to come back with Lindsey in about another 8 weeks to just kind of do some different stuff again. You're welcome to go into the IT and MSP business owners group, into the guides section on your PC browser, and you can actually see all the stuff there. You can see all of our recordings, all the different recordings that we do. I'm going to be back with my head sales coach, Cindy Phillips. We're going to talk about how to sell MSP deals to get 300 plus per seat in today's market. I don't care where you are in the world, all of these tactics work. So we'll be back here. What's cool is next week, I'm going to be live in Nashville, probably with a headset on, in our main room for at least half of that time. It's going to be lunchtime, and then half of it's going to have people on stage. So I'm going to have to be a little bit quiet, probably. So we'll see how that works. But for Bob Mitchie and Lindsey Badillo, really great to have you guys here today. Go make some deals, go make some money. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Yep, bye-bye.